Hello, I'm here to try to explain to you how to practice scales. I just made a video on how 4-finger patterns fit into major scales. It's all very predictable. There's only 4-finger patterns, so there's only 4 possibilities. An octave either consists of 1-finger pattern or the next or the next. So it's very predictable. It's not that difficult. Now, the one new thing between the previous chapter and this one is string changes. When you play scale, you have to prepare what happens next. So let's just take C major scale. Yeah, very simple. It doesn't have any sharps or any flats. So C, tone, tone, semitone, and tone. Now, between this 4th finger and the next note is a tone. So, can you see that my hand has a semitone between 2 and 3 right now? So, if I need a tone between 4 and 1, this is exactly what I need. So I just need to move my 1st finger to the next string. Yeah, and now we are at the end of our 1st octave. This was C, and this is C. Yeah, okay. So when you need a tone between 4 and 1, you need any finger pattern with a semitone. Then you just need to move that 1st finger sideways to the next string. Lift it up, don't drag it, because dragging you tend to do from your elbow or your wrist. Lift it up, place it on the next string, and simply continue. Now, if, let's say, I end up on the G here, and I need an A flat, a semitone between 4 and 1, I need to pretend I have no finger, it's no semitones between my fingers, and I place that 1st finger on the next string. Now the semitone is between 4 and 1. So this is G, and this is A flat. That on the way up is the only thing you have to worry about, is to correctly prepare your 1st finger. Now, I say prepare. You want to do that before you finish playing that 4th note. At some point you have to lift that 1st finger and move it to the next string. So I'll show you again. C, D, E, F. You can lift that 1st finger in the meantime. There's no need for it to stay there. G. And my 1st finger now is already on the next string, ready for the next note. Yeah, that's the way up. Now on the way down, you have to pay attention to placing the 4th finger after the 1st finger on the way backwards. So if you go from top, we're going to do the same scale backwards. So we have C, B, A. Now the next note is that 4th finger. Now where does that 4th finger go? In the beginning, I suggest you take a break, and you remember that we had 2 and 3 against each other. So now we're going to place 2, 3 and 4 with 2 and 3 against each other on the C string. And then if you've done that, so I have a finger pattern with tone between 1 and 2, even though 1 and 2 are on different strings right now. My 1st finger is still on that A. I build 2, 3, 4 with 2 and 3 against each other, and I play. Yeah, I'm not sure if you noticed, but while I'll place everything back where it was, so 1 is still on the G string. While I play 4, 3, 2, at some point I lift up that 1st finger and I will place it on that C string. So I build 2 and 3 against each other. Yeah, So this is how I suggest you start practicing scales. You take a break, well, you take a rest between 1 and 4, and you build. Now when you go up the scale, you'll have a finger pattern. Now you have to remember which finger pattern you have to use for the way back. Now you can of course throw your 4th finger at the next string and hope for the best, but it's not very efficient, and the chance that you're going to be correct with all your fingers is unlikely. If you remember which finger pattern you need on the next string, it will be easy to prepare things. Now there's a next step and a next step. Right now I stopped. I had this 1st finger. I stopped playing. I placed 2, 3, 4 with 2 and 3 against each other on the next string, and then I continued playing. Yeah. Now what you also have to learn is play that note and do exactly the same while you're still playing that note. Yeah, seems crazy, but your bow and your 1st finger is on the G string at the moment. But I placed 2 on the C, 3 on the C, 4 on the C. If you do it in the right finger pattern, you don't have to worry about any of these 4 notes. Yeah. If you just throw your fingers at the next string, then God knows where they're going to land, and the chance that they're all going to be in tune. That's why I suggest you build. Yeah. Alternatively, you can play that 1st finger. Prepare that finger pattern in the air. You can see 2 and 3 are against each other. You drop everything together. And then you don't have to build. However, that is going to require some practice. For some kids, I've noticed, it's very easy. They just prepare in the air, they drop, and they're in tune. Other people will require some practice. Some people find the 1st way most difficult. Some people find the 2nd way most difficult. Practice both. But begin with taking a break after 1. Carefully remember which finger pattern you're supposed to build. Build it, but leave your 1st finger behind. Yeah, don't move your 1st finger. Leave your 1st finger behind and build. And that is how you practice your scales. The only difference between the 2nd and the 3rd chapter is the fact that a scale is 7 notes long. Yeah, so it means you have to change strings. You have to remember which finger pattern to use, but I'll explain that bit by bit for each and every scale. And coming back from top to bottom, it is a bit more difficult, because going up, you only have to prepare that 1st finger. You have to remember whether the 1st finger stays at the same level, or it goes lower, or it goes higher onto the next string. On the way back, you have to remember the entire finger pattern and gradually build everything. The more you repeat this with concentration and a nice sound, the faster it will go, the easier it will be going. And challenge yourself. Try different ways of preparing for the next string. Be able to do both, if at all possible. So sustain that finger and then start building, or just float in the air and drop the fingers. Those are the 2 ways to prepare. Just gambling and throwing your 4th finger at the next string, hoping for the best. It works for some, but the way I suggest you do, you know that 2nd, 3rd and 4th finger are already in the right place. And the more you prepare for that, the easier everything becomes. Because there's nothing difficult about major scales as long as you know what you're doing. And there's only 4 finger patterns you'll be using. So it's not that crazy difficult. Yeah, the same thing is will keep coming back over and over and over again. Yeah, there's lots of different scales, but there's only 4 finger patterns that you have to learn to land onto the next string. Yeah, so it's a bit challenging, but it's easily doable if you persist and really try. So good luck with this, and if you remember this for every single scale, you don't just skate over things. By the way, you're halfway through the next chapter. Probably will be very fluent in preparing the next string, and that's essentially the only difficult thing about scales. Be ready for what's going to come next. In music, you always have to think forward. Yeah? You always have to look at what happens next, be prepared to what comes next. So this is where scales will challenge you. Good luck, and I'll see you at C major.